Hey, what's going on, you guys? Mr. Money1235 back here yet again. Doing this video because recently I've been kind of inspired from watching a few other people in the vinyl community. MeanMr Mayo, Donald Rocks, a few other people, Tim Allen. And these guys have kind of inspired me to talk about some of the Capitol Beatles albums myself. Canadian Studmuffin as well. He makes really funny videos. These are all really insightful people. They really know what they're talking about when it comes to Beatles. And I saw one where Tim Allen and MeanMr Mayo, they did an albums ranking of the Capitol albums a few years back. This hasn't been recent or anything. Recently, Canadian Studmuffin has been doing ranking songs on each album, UK, US, whatever. So I thought maybe I should just kind of, throw my hat into the ring here and talk about my favorite Capitol albums from the Beatles, ranking them from worst to best. Because it looked like a whole lot of fun, and I have opinions as well. This video is going to be a little bit different than theirs though, because I'm not going to be including a lot of the compilations that they have been including in their videos. Mostly just going to be talking about the albums that are included in the US albums box set in this picture up here. But before we get into that, there is one compilation that I do want to mention in this video. I've had this album for about 2 years now, and I can't praise it enough. They've talked about it a few times in their own videos, but the Beatles Rock and Roll Music, it's a four-sided LP, 2 records in there, so 4 sides, and just a great collection of their rockin' tunes. It's just a great track listing. I can definitely see the problem with this record in having this type of font, because it makes it look like they're from the 50s or something. I think they kind of screwed up there, and these thumbs look terrible, but I do like kind of the foil kind of look to the album cover. And like I said, it's just a great collection of like their rockin' songs, man. It's kind of the opposite of the Love Songs compilation, which I do not own a copy of. If I ever did own a copy of that, I wouldn't mind it, but it's not like I'm in a huge demand for it, I guess. I'm mostly into it for the albums because I love deeper cuts, and sometimes those compilation albums lean too heavily on main singles, and I'm not really into that. I like to hear Beatles deep cuts. So anyway, Rock and Roll Music by the Beatles, I would definitely recommend this one. It's very unique, and it's really good. It's one of MeanMr Mayo's favorites, and I totally agree with him on that. It's a great record. Alright, so here we go. Let's get into the main Capitol albums. There's 14 albums in my countdown here, and I'll explain why there's 14 as you watch the countdown. So anyway, let's start at number 14, and it has to be The Beatles Story, because yeah, it's an interview album, and yeah, you've heard it all before. I actually don't own a copy of this because you can't get a copy of this unless you buy that US albums box set. I know I said I've been watching the vinyl community, but all of my Capitol albums are mostly on CD. But whatever, same music. But yeah, Beatles Story, I don't understand why you would even want this. So yeah, it's definitely last, like it has been on most other people's who've been doing this countdown. Next up for me is Help soundtrack album. It's not bad, but I really prefer the music more than I do the instrumental cuts. Definitely pretty cool to hear like From Me to You instrumental, and In the Tyrol instrumental and stuff like that. It's okay, but I definitely don't think it's as good as the next soundtrack album on my list. I guess this would be number 12 as well. A Hard Day's Night soundtrack. This is a little bit better to me than the Help soundtrack. I actually do kind of enjoy I Should Have Known Better and the I Love Her instrumentals. I think they sound really pretty. They're pretty good for instrumental tracks. I like it a whole lot. So yeah, that's number 12. Next up, number 11 is the US Revolver. This is a UK Revolver, but I think you'll understand the US Revolver is totally useless. The US Revolver is a piece of crap. They just took 3 awesome songs off a Revolver. That's all they did for the US Revolver. I really don't understand. They're 3 of the best songs too. I mean, it's friggin' I'm Only Sleeping, And Your Bird Can Sing, and Dr. Robert. They ended up on Yesterday and Today, which we will get to. But yeah, the US Revolver is just Revolver minus those 3 songs, and I think that's a damn shame. Just make it 11 tracks. So I love Revolver, but the UK Revolver is so much better. There's not even a real point in owning the US Revolver unless you like songs, unless you like having 11 songs instead of 14, which I don't understand why you would. But anyway, so that's why that's there. Alright, now, getting into the top 10 here. At number 10, we have the early Beatles. Definitely not bad. I love every single song on this album, but once again, they took away 3 amazing songs from Please Please Me. You don't get Misery, or I Saw Her Standing There, or There's a Place. You're missing those songs. Once again, it makes it 11 tracks. I just don't get it. But like, still, these songs are all amazing, but I don't understand why you just wouldn't listen to Please Please Me. it's just better. But yeah, the early Beatles. It's number 10. At number 9, we have Something New. This album's alright. I would much rather listen to A Hard Day's Night other than this. I've never been a huge fan of the German version of I Want to Hold Your Hand that ends out this album. It's alright. I just it's not really much into it for me personally. A lot of my favorite songs from A Hard Day's Night are on this thing, but I would still just rather listen to Hard Day's Night. Matchbox is one of my least favorite covers as well by the band. Slow Down's a really good song. It's a Past Masters track that ended up on this thing, and it's really good. But like I said, everything else on this album is from A Hard Day's Night, and it's really good. So I like that a lot for it. Number 8. Hey Jude. I like this album a lot. I mean, like, it feels like this is technically the last Beatles album, and they just kind of took all the tracks that they forgot to put on other albums and slapped them together, and here you go. It's kind of weird hearing songs like Old Brown Shoe and Ballad of John Yoko right next to I Should Have Known Better and Can't Buy Me Love, because the year date on that is so different, having those songs on one album. But, you know, I love every single song on this album. Old Brown Shoe is a really underrated song. Rain is amazing. I absolutely love Rain. So, Don't Let Me Down. It's another great song. So, yeah, Hey Jude, it's a little strange hearing such new and old songs put together on one album, but it's good. Every song on it's good. It's just a weird arrangement, that's all. I like it a lot, though. Alright, I think we're at number 7 here. Yeah. Alright, number 7 is Beatles 6, actually. Beatles 6, this is getting into seriously good album territory right here. Beatles 6. Kansas City, 8 Days a Week, You Like Me Too Much, Bad Boy, I Don't Want to Spoil the Party, Words of Love. That's an amazing A-side. That is a great A-side. Side 2, What You're Doing, yes it is, Dizzy Miss Lizzy. Tell Me What You See, Every Little Thing. Dizzy Miss Lizzy isn't necessarily one of my favorite songs that they've ever made, but side 2 is really good as well, other than that. Yeah, some of my absolute favorite songs from Beatles for Sale and some of my absolute favorite songs from Past Masters are on this thing. So, yeah, definitely highly recommended this album. You know, this album could actually go a little bit higher in my list, but really good collection of songs on this thing. I really love it. Beatles 6. Highly recommended. Up next, Beatles 65. I believe this is number 6. No Reply, I'm a Loser, Babies in Black, Rock and Roll Music, I Follow the Sun, Mr. Moonlight. This album could almost be considered as good to me as Beatles for Sale. I also really like the reverb versions of She's a Woman and I Feel Fine. I got this out of the Capitol's Past Masters box sets that came out a few years ago. I didn't get this from the... I didn't buy this separate from the new U.S. Albums box set because the new U.S. Albums box set just kind of took the 2009 remasters and slapped them in the same sequencing as the UK album, so you didn't get some of the cool stuff that that Capitol had mixed differently for the U.S. albums. But the old box set that had these in it did that. So really good album. Yeah, I can't find any fault with this one at all. I really like it a lot. It's getting really hard to order these now, as you can tell. So that just tells you how good this collection is going, because we're only on number 6, and I had a really hard time ordering this from this point home. So next up, we're in my top 5 now, I suppose, is the Beatles' second album. Damn, man, this is really good. Has a lot of the same kind of energy as With the Beatles. With the Beatles is one of my favorite UK albums, so I kind of have a soft spot for this one, and especially ending with She Loves You. I think that's pretty fucking cool way to end an album right there. I'll Get You, I'll Call Your Name is some of my favorite Past Masters tracks on there too. Thank You Girl, I really like that one a whole lot. Long Tall Sally is alright. It's not one of my favorites, but it's still really good. Yeah, this is a great little rockin' album that I want my jockey to play. I like it a lot. It's really good. Alright, this one here, I'm probably going to say the same things about this album as a lot of other people have said about it. The U.S. Rubber Soul. You know, there are some days where I wake up and I'm like, my God, I think the U.S. Rubber Soul is better than the U.K. Rubber Soul. For me, it felt like the Beatles were kind of reaching into making like a Bob Dylan-esque folk album. That's what they were trying to do, pretty sure. Lennon, I know, was really going through a big craze over Bob Dylan at the time this was recorded, so I feel like this album kind of pulls off that feeling a little bit better. Starting an album with I've Just Seen a Face is a great way to get that feeling. A nice acoustic song leading right into Norwegian Wood. Nice and folky. I love it. And the track It's Only Love from Help, it fits really good on this album. So yeah, unlike Revolver and the early Beatles, I don't think they screwed this one up at all. I think sometimes I think it's an improvement. Honestly, I love Rubber Soul. I mean, I'll take either one, but there are some days where I think the U.S. Rubber Soul is almost better. Not gonna lie, it's really good. Gives you a really nice folky feel. That's what they were going for, and I think they capture it really well on the U.S. Rubber Soul. Next up, MeanMr Mayo included this, and I kind of agree with him. This is number 3. Magical Mystery Tour, because honestly, like he said in his video, this album is an American creation right here. Over in the UK, they only had that EP with 6 songs on it, and over here in the US, we were like, screw that. We're gonna take some songs you didn't put out and slap them on the end of this thing and call it an album. And now it's became a staple of the Beatles discography. I mean, that box set up there, the vinyl mono remasters up there, it includes this. This is a U.S. creation, and it's became a staple of the main discography. So, Magical Mystery Tour, an amazing album. 3 of my absolute favorite Beatles songs on the B side of this, and I Am the Walrus, obviously, from the A side, but Hello, Goodbye, Strawberry Fields Forever, and All You Need Is Love. You just can't beat it. Those are 3 of the best LSD days of the Beatles songs, in my opinion. Of course, including all of Sgt. Pepper, but the track listing was the same for that one, so we're not going to include it in this list. But Magical Mystery Tour, the album from Capitol Records, America. It's amazing. That's why it's number 3, obviously. Alright, my 2 top favorite U.S. Beatle albums. You guys know what they are, I suppose, but the Beatles, Yesterday and Today. This track listing right here is so perfect. The track listing is just oh so perfect on this album. It's got this great mix of past stuff and more psychedelic stuff rolled into one album. I chose to keep the Butcher cover on there because I think it looks cooler. I do have the sticker somewhere with the with them sitting in the trunk. But yeah, this is absolutely one of my top favorite Capitol albums because it's got a great track listing on it. You know, like What Goes On is on this thing too, so you get a little bit of that rockabilly sound from Ringo. And Your Bird Can Sing is really good. Drive My Car starts this off. I'm Only Sleeping, really cool backwards guitar work on that. It's like psychedelic, rockabilly, kind of old Beatles, newish Beatles. Act Naturally is a great other Ringo song that's on this thing. Just a great mix of songs all together on one album. Yesterday and Today, I think, flows perfectly. Actually, I also have a vinyl copy of this album because I love it so much. Yeah, this is just them sitting in the trunk. It's not a Butcher, unfortunately. I don't have that much money. $10, very good, plus record. But it sounds good to me when I play it on my record player. Yeah, Yesterday and Today. Love that album. But as much as I love it, I don't think it beats out my number one pick as the best Capitol album. I think me and Tim Allen have the exact same pick here. Maybe MeanMr Mayo too, if I remember right. But it is, once again, Meet the fucking Beatles, the debut album for the U.S. I can't describe enough how much I love the the flow of this album. Just like kind of with the Beatles, the UK album, the energy on this album is just fucking insane. I mean, you got I Want to Hold Your Hand starting this thing off, and then it shoots right into I Saw Her Standing There. That is a 1-2 punch of a fucking way to start an album. And then This Boy. Oh my god, I love This Boy. One of the best fucking slow songs that they've had. It Won't Be Long. I love it so much. All I've Got to Do, All My Loving. Just an amazing A-side. An amazing A-side. Don't Bother Me, Little Child, Till There Was You, Hold Me Tight, I Want to Be Your Man, Not a Second Time. Just a perfect rock album. Just one of the best rock albums I think the Beatles have pulled off since with the Beatles. So yeah, Meet the Beatles, really good. Number one pick. Honestly, you could kind of swap around Yesterday and Today and Meet the Beatles for me, depending on how I feel some days. So yeah, those are my top 14 favorite ranked from worst to best Capitol albums. This was a whole lot of fun. Trust me guys, I will be back to do a little bit of a roundup on the Gorillaz news that's been coming out for the new Gorillaz album. Just wanted to get this out here because it looked like a whole lot of fun. So I hope to see you guys soon. Hope you like the list. Tell me what your favorite Capitol albums are from the Beatles. See you guys later.